fantastic space, a magnificent space. I have spoken in many places before, but I can think of very few as fantastic as this in design, and that represent so well what it is that you do for your work and what you give to your society and your profession. I was asked last night I asked one of you, who was your favorite sociologist? My PhD I was a teacher, but my PhD is in sociology. And the person I was speaking to, an Italian colleague of yours, said it was the Frenchman, Pierre Bourdieu. And we didn't have time to continue the conversation, because then I would have been able to say, who was my favorite sociologist? And the answer is Antonio Gramsci. And of the many things, and I read everything Gramsci wrote, almost, when I was still in my 20s and 30s. And one of the things, if you recall, that Antonio Gramsci said is that all of us, all people, are intellectuals, even if we don't all have the function of intellectuals. But he might have said, of those who do have the function of intellectuals, the most important, perhaps, is the teacher. The teacher is an intellectual. The teacher is what Gramsci called an organic intellectual. An intellectual who is not only making a difference in the lives of many individual children, as you do, but who makes the biggest difference for the lives of those who come from families who are poor, who are marginalized, who are disadvantaged, who live in conditions of inequality, who are handicapped, who have disabilities, who are immigrants, who come from cultural minorities, that now, today, we would say to be this kind of intellectual is to be an intellectual, a teacher, whose cause is social justice, whose cause is equity, whose cause is to ensure that whatever family you come from, whatever background you have, your capacity to learn and your right to learn is the same as anyone else. And this is what teachers do and try to do. In the words, this time, of a Frenchman, Émile Durkheim, we create the generations of the future. The future depends on its teachers. The future depends on the quality of our teachers. The future depends on teachers not only being intellectuals, but being treated as intellectuals. And this fits, actually, with one of the biggest agendas at the moment worldwide. An agenda which finally recognizes the blindingly obvious fact that of all the things inside the school that affect student achievement and student learning, the most important of all these is not whether you have a centralized system, is not whether you have a standard curriculum, is not how many tests or examinations you have, is not whether there's a lot or a little accountability, is not even the quality of the leadership of the principal. The most important factor inside the school is the quality of the teacher. And across the political spectrum now, Everyone appears at this moment to recognize that the most important thing is quality teaching and the quality of the teacher. But the people who are most prominent in bringing this issue to our attention of teacher quality are the people who also most misunderstand what teacher quality requires and what it consists of. At the same time, they elevate its importance and they misunderstand its nature. And this is the issue I want to explore with you today. I am talking more slowly than I do usually because Italian is a much more beautiful and also much longer language than English. So do forgive me if I sound like I'm on drugs. So, we have a choice at the moment. We have a choice in terms of thinking about how we deal with quality teaching. Hopefully it's a better choice than Woody Allen, the famous New York American comedian. By the way, Woody Allen is a comedian, but he's not yet a politician. And I've lived in America now for 10 years, but originally I am from England, as you can tell by the accent. And I would say the only difference between Mr. Grillo, the only difference between Mr. Grillo and the politicians of England is that at least Mr. Grillo is honest about the fact that he is a comedian. So here's what Woody Allen said. Woody Allen said this: this is perhaps a good way to understand the Italian election.